All right, I'll let you guys in on a little secret. When you get into politics, there's like one rule that everybody tells you. They say you don't want to do too much with Alex Jones because he's a quote unquote conspiracy theorist. Everybody knows Alex Jones is a conspiracy theorist. The media, mainstream media, makes sure that the world does not listen to Alex Jones. But here's the thing, it's getting kind of weird because when you look back on the stuff that he said, Alex Jones has been right a lot of times. Take, for example, this clip of him dating all the way back to 2002.
Facts and common sense are in. Yes, there have been corrupt empires. Yes, they manipulate. Yes, there are secret societies. Yes, there have been oligarchies throughout history. And yes, today in 2002, there is a tyrannical organization calling itself the New World Order, pushing for worldwide government, a cashless society, open borders, total and complete tyranny, where human beings are absolutely worthless. There's 6.25+ billion of us, and the globalists have said it many times. There's too many of us. We're causing a problem. We need to be culled at the tune of 80%. It's amazing to talk about that, but it's the globalists, the UN, their own public statements, and they've convinced a lot of liberals and elitist conservatives and others that by going along with this, that we're intelligent members of society. It's the ultimate Malthus world view. It is this radical, virulent form of social Darwinism. It's the excuse of tyrants. And by creating open borders where there's no national sovereignty and only global bodies that control all the resources, by centralizing and socializing health care, the state becomes God, basically, when it comes to your health. And then by releasing diseases and viruses and plagues upon us, we then basically get shoved into their system.
That's Alex Jones 22 years ago, my friends. And also today I'm going to break another rule by speaking to Alex Jones for a whole hour, you guys. This is not a conversation you are going to want to miss. Welcome to Candace. Alex Jones, welcome to the show.
Candace, it's good to be here with you, but we are definitely living in the most dangerous times in American history.
We actually are living in the most dangerous times, and I'm so excited to have you because, you're one of those voices. I read a comment, and it never left me. I thought it was hilarious. They said, Alex Jones sounds like he's peddling conspiracy theories, but he's telling you the truth. And Rachel Maddow sounds like she's telling you the truth, and she's actually peddling conspiracy theories. Like they're the same person reversed, and that never left me. And so I just showed my audience some clips of you and the things that you have predicted over the years that have actually been proven to be true, but at the time they sounded crazy. And so now I wanted to bring you on the show because I want to know what your take is on the Trump assassination attempt, because no matter how crazy it sounds, I think you have been the person that has been accurately predicting that all of this was going to happen. So, Alex, first and foremost, where were you when Donald J. Trump was shot at and fortunately survived? And what is your take on that situation?
I was landing in Santa Rosa. We had internet on the plane, but I hadn't been. I was taking like an hour break from Twitter and the news, just playing a board game with my 7-year-old daughter. And then my producer that came with me, Rob Dew, said, Trump's been shot. Looks like he survived. They just took him off the stage. I, quite frankly, had tears started coming out of my eyes. My wife started crying. I couldn't help it. Just the magnitude of knowing what this meant, that the deep state had actually tried to conduct a coup. And I was so emotional that hoping he had survived. So immediately found out that he had lived, that it had grazed his ear. And I was just absolutely so much knowledge was rushing through my mind, and the different scenarios that would come out of this, and how the deep state is going to absolutely have to kill him now. And then just immediately we got to the Airbnb, set up our computers, and looked at the evidence of that big metal roof where the police had their command center. That was a perfect place to station their people, and it was 450 feet because they already had maps up and models online on X. And it was just 100% clear that there had been a Secret Service stand down by Mayorkas and that agency that he controls, just like there's been a stand down at the border and then a facilitation of the human smuggling. And then I immediately saw the news for the next 8 hours, Forbes, CNN, others saying, oh, Trump fell down. There were some noises, and them trying to play down that it was an assassination attempt until that blew up in their face. And so they had all the pieces and elements there. And then I instantly remembered the Lincoln Project repeatedly saying we need to put a bullet in Trump this year and last year. Those videos are all up on my Real Alex Jones X account. Then I remembered Mudd, the former subdirector of the CIA in clandestine assassination operations, saying the government's going to kill this guy, the CIA is going to kill this guy. And so I saw the pre-programming and everything they'd done. And then, of course, it's the perfect lone gunman who we now know is on the building 26 minutes. We saw the videos that day of 2 or 3 minutes of people saying there's a guy with a gun on the roof and the police running away and police on their radios and the counter sniper team on the other sloped roof over by Trump on their radios, clearly saying we've got the shot, we've got the shot. And they're like this because they're being told don't take the shot. And then after they fire at least 5 bullets at Trump, and one literally pierces his ear, just a few degrees off, it would have gone through and hit him in the back of the brain, or it would have shattered in his temple and turned him into a vegetable or killed him. So we're talking less than a half inch here. And just the magnitude of all of that evidence coming together, and then their spin machine saying that it was no big deal, and then to learn it was 26 minutes. The Secret Service admits that, and the director of the Secret Service, she just says, hey, we thought slant roofs are a safety issue. You know, the agents could fall off. Well, everybody's seen movies about the Secret Service, but I know the Secret Service. I've followed their protocols. It's well known. You've had congressmen like Mills that have been sniper commanders and run thousands of operations for diplomatic groups and for presidents abroad, saying on CNN by Sunday, he said, no, this is an inside group that did this, and the man had help. He said, this is impossible. And then CNN goes, how dare you say it's Joe Biden? He said, I didn't say it's Joe Biden, but this was an organized group. Well, who is in control of the Secret Service? Who's in control of the advance team? Who was in control to try to carry out the administrative murder of President Trump? I mean, if you leave your baby in a baby chair by the oven or by the stovetop and put a big thing of grease on there and turn it on high and then drive and leave your house, you administratively know that's going to cause a huge fire and it's going to burn up the house and it's going to burn up your baby. And the police would charge you with premeditated murder 1. So it's the same thing, putting the baby in the baby chair, setting it over by the stove, putting the grease on, turning on high, and then going out for a pack of cigarettes. And that's what they did here, ladies and gentlemen. They administratively set this up bare minimum, and now we know they were helping the shooter, and they brought him in and they let him sit up there when he had a rangefinder aiming it at Trump, and he obviously got cold feet, so he's wandering around up there, literally 450 feet, perfect spot to put him, very professional where they sent him. All of it was advised, and then he goes ahead and takes his shots, but because Trump is moving around so much, by the grace of God, they miss him. And I've been hunting many times and shot elk at 800 yards and things, and you know, deer at 200, 300 yards, wild hogs. I've always been a big hunter, and I'm an excellent shot. I mean, I've shot things at 1,200 yards, but wind, all sorts of things come into it. And if you're there, and even if you're a great shot and somebody's moving, I can't tell you how many times I've pulled the trigger on a white-tailed deer at 300 yards, but it just last moment jumps or moves or lowers its head, and you miss. And so that's what happened by the grace of God here. The fact that 5 bullets missed him are incredible. You then have, of course, the firefighter shielding his wife and daughter. He died. Another woman was shot. And notice, you see no media coverage about them except in local news. Nobody trying to interview them. So the corporate media can put out the lie that this didn't happen and this was a hoax. You see, and it's okay to
Actually,
question. Mhm.
mm. Actually, you're absolutely right, and one of the things that I showed on this show was the how ridiculous it was because we are now at the point in American society where they're telling people not to believe their own eyes. And when Biden gave his, I'm not even going to call it a speech, his comment, the 2-minute comment that he gave that night, he said, "We don't know if it was an assassination attempt." What do you mean we don't know if it's an assassination attempt? What the hell else would it be? We just watched on live television for a president of the United States getting shot at. I do want to slow this down because you're speaking about the deep state, and my audience is, I think, now up to date on what it is you're speaking about, because when I first got into politics and you were speaking about deep state, I really didn't know what you were talking about. And much has changed. Now I've studied the CIA. I've looked at the declassified documents. I've brought to my audience, speaking to them about Operation Mockingbird, which is what we saw that night. And I've spoken to them about MK Ultra. And in particular, there is a book that I have been telling every person they must read. It's basically required summer reading to watch this podcast, which is called Chaos. And it's about MK Ultra, the 60s, and it brings in JFK and him getting shot, and you realize that they have psychological programs. This is not a conspiracy theory, that the government was obsessed with creating Manchurian candidates and trying to psychologically, via drugs, convince people to kill people, insert false memories inside of people. They MK Ultra Jacob Rubenstein, the guy who allegedly shot JFK, which I actually don't believe that Lee Harvey Oswald shot him. But parking all that aside, what is it specifically when you're talking about the deep state? What is it that you mean? Because they've made that sound like a conspiracy theory for so long, and it's not a conspiracy theory. So could you spell out who and what the deep state is?
Well, there's always been secret societies and cliques and organizations and governments going back thousands of years, different power groups. But the classic American deep state, or what you call in Europe the NATO, Interpol deep state, is the permanent bureaucracy that doesn't ever go away and then hands down power to the next generation and then consolidates control. So a lot of people call it the permanent state,
Hmm.
but this has been for 50, 60 years in mainline PhD, best-selling books and things. And there's been congressional hearings and the Senator Frank Church committee hearings in the 70s. And so when you bring up something like MK Ultra, that is the more exotic, flashy edge of this. And it's declassified the CIA under Jolly and West and Ewing Cameron, uh, kidnapped or had a lot of families actually hand their kids over, more than 10,000 children for the classic MK Ultra drugging electroshock programs to actually erase memories, create a person that's basically like a zombie and will carry out any task you want, whether it's sex operations, that's the most common, or whether it is assassinations. But
So I do want to slow this down. So Jolly West, that is correct. Jolly West was a doctor who was working at the behest of the CIA, and this is what you will find in that book, Chaos. These are declassified documents. What Alex Jones is saying to you right now is not a conspiracy theory. They were also experimenting on American troops and
do you know
trying
who Tim
to
McVeigh's doctor was? From the time he was arrested in Oklahoma until the day he was executed, he would visit him monthly. His doctor was Jolly and West. Now,
yes, you're talking about the Unabomber.
well, no, and the Unabomber also, Theodore Kaczynski also was in MK Ultra, LA Times, Associated Press. That's another subsection. No, I'm saying Timothy McVeigh's doctor was Jolly and West.
Wow. So yeah, it's a very important for my listeners right now, because I want to make sure that we're not speaking over them, because I've done the due diligence and some people haven't. And when you read that book Chaos, you will realize Jolly West is plausibly one of the most evil people that's ever existed. And when I was on a few weeks ago and the media took me out of context and I was saying that we learn in school that the experiments the Nazi scientists did were so bad, we brought them over here and we have conducted way worse experiments. And Jolly West
Operation
is a
Paperclip.
doctor who has conducted experiments. Basically, what they're describing to you as lone shooters and lone crazy people are not lone crazy people. There are people that have been intentionally experimented on, sent out into the public to commit heinous crimes while the CIA watched and allowed these crimes to take place. Charles Manson was, in fact, a federal asset, and they were experimenting with LSD, trying to get people to commit murders, and they were successful. So these experiments were successful. So when you hear, Alex, I want to ask you, that it's a lone shooter, what is the first thing that you think?
Well, you're totally right about MK Ultra, MK Naomi, and there's a lot of other projects that have only been partially declassified. And most of these projects now are done by private corporations, about 80% of it. And so the deep state, under the National Security Act of 47, that made the CIA and other intelligence agencies secret and above the law, since then they've transferred most of the power into private corporations. And so they even have more secrecy and more plausible deniability. And all major governments have worked on this. But they really don't need that now with the internet and computers. What they've moved to is profiling. And then they've got psychological experts that can go out and interface with large groups of mentally disturbed people, and then they are called windups. And then you simply tell them, hey, you're part of a secret group. You're right. You're a hero. Since you're already suicidal, you want to go out with a bang. This is going to mean you're really going to mean something. You're part of a secret government agency now, which they are, and then they profile them, they handle them, they manage them, they insert them, not because they're under mind control, but because they're under media mind control and the culture that Trump must die. He's Hitler. He's going to arrest everybody. He's going to kill everybody. Could you go back in a time machine and kill Hitler? Well, here's your chance to, get in a time machine now and stop the next Hitler. And that is what they normally do. The FBI has been caught thousands of times. They call it the FBI terror factory. We got the Governor Whitmer case where the entire leadership of the supposed Michigan militia were quasi and homeless, mentally ill potheads who'd never even been around firearms. And over a year, the FBI comes in giving them tens of thousands of dollars a month, buying their meals, never getting them an apartment so they're secure or a job, but Airbnbs. And then they're recording them. That's why in two of the trials they had to let them go. They finally had a third trial, and a jury, went along with convicting some innocent people. And they're on the tapes and the transcripts going, I just want a hamburger. I don't want to hurt anybody. They go, do the drill and talk about how you're going to go kidnap her. You don't have to, and I will give you another ounce of weed, and I will give you $200 for pizza and cheeseburgers.
Now, just to slow that down, because I didn't cover that case extensively on the show, what he's referring to is, you may have seen in the headlines, the plot to assassinate or to kidnap Governor Whitmer of Michigan, the crazy-looking, Botoxed out of her mind governor of Michigan. And that was, in fact, proven to be an FBI plot. They found people, they targeted these people, and they were trying to induce these people to commit a crime. And the FBI got caught red-handed. So again, it's very important for my listeners. We have to be brought up to speed here on reality, because the government is growing increasingly more erratic, increasingly more sinister. And obviously now we just watched them try to assassinate President Trump while he was speaking. You need to understand these programs that Alex Jones is talking about that are being implemented, many of them, by the way, even within the classroom of the public school system. And I want to get to something that I was concerned about with this particular assassination plot. When they announced, Alex, that the lone shooter, quote unquote lone shooter, both of his parents are behavioral psychologists or behavioral counselors, behavioral therapists, I think. Instantly, because as soon as this happened, I said, I want to know what's in this kid's medicine cabinet, having been aware of all of the things that Jolly
SSRIs.
West was doing. Exactly. Who,
Well,
what
it gets worse
therapists
than
were he
that. It gets worse
seeing?
than that. It gets worse than that. In the thing that happened in Connecticut, where the mom buys
Mhm.
him the gun and all that, the terrible shooting that did happen in Connecticut, he was given the gun by his mother legally, and then he was on SSRIs, and he was an intern at the CIA again, Adam Lanza. It's mainstream news.
What?
Yes.
What? Adam Lanza was an intern at the CIA?
He had been
That
approached.
is, are you sure?
No, look,
I'm
yes,
from Connecticut, so I had never heard this.
yes, let me tell you. They've tried to hide it. They admit he was visited by the FBI and CIA because he was supposedly hacking into computers. He was autistic and super smart on computers. And then he was, quote, talking to them about interning. But listen, the Unabomber, CIA volunteer for MK Ultra, LA Times, Associated Press. Folks, look it up.
That is correct. That is
The
correct.
number two CIA mind control doctor in congressional testimony, Jolyon West, who died, I guess, like 10 years ago, but he was Tim McVeigh's doctor while he was in Terre Haute, Indiana. But that's where he finally got executed. And then you've also, I mean, it just goes through all of them. Sirhan was drugged up and given amnesics, and then they confirmed he shot the gun, but it's not the one that hit RFK. He was shot from behind by, again, a skunk works worker with the CIA who was brought in to augment security. So the same story there. And I could go through every one of
Same
these
for John
cases.
Lennon. John Lennon also on the list, the guy holding the Catcher in the Rye, genuinely a Manchurian candidate. They found that he was near a CIA base where they were conducting these experiments. It's very scary. Once you think
John Hinckley Jr., the family were, quote, best friends with the Bushes. And it was in the Denver Post that 4 days before John Hinckley shot Reagan with a 22 in D.C., that they were all having a private dinner together in Colorado.
And this goes back way further in American history, and I do try to slow it down because I know that so many people are just waking up to this, and it's overwhelming. It is like an avalanche. I always say that you kind of go through this period of cognitive dissonance where you just go, "How could I have believed that things were happening and it was just this exceptional evil thing that took place, and never considered that this could be being led by our government?" Now, let me ask you this question: why does the government do these sorts of things? So I learned in that Chaos book about the Charles Manson murders. I very much believe that the reason for that was they wanted to end the hippie generation because they were very anti-war, and our government wanted to go to war. And so by conducting this hippie commune, conducted these terrible murders in Beverly Hills, suddenly people were buying locks and people were scared again. It wasn't like the love dream and the hippie love generation suddenly came to an abrupt end. What is their issue with Trump? Explain why they would, if we are alleging, and I actually very much believe our state was involved in this. I think you have to be a conspiracy theorist to believe that it was just a remarkable intelligence failure. I think that the crazy people are the ones that actually believe that this just happened by accident. Why would they try to assassinate Donald Trump?
Well, that really is the $64 trillion answer. And I don't know how much time we have, but I would love to tell people exactly why they want Trump dead. But if I could just briefly just say something here.
You know what? You know what? Pause before you give us your answer. I just want to cut really quickly because we're getting into this conversation deeply to one of our sponsors, the people that have stood by us as we have had these incredible conversations. So one of the things that Alex Jones believes is that we are being poisoned. The food that we are eating is not high quality food. And that, I think, is something that we all can agree with. And we have to change that around. What is this? Is it even actually meat that we're consuming? They're pushing that we shouldn't even want to eat meat. Well, I do. And that's why Good Ranchers is a sponsor on this show. You guys know I'm always speaking about Good Ranchers. I'm always showing you my refrigerator on Instagram. And you absolutely should sign up to goodranchers.com and shop their prime deals on American meats. You do not want to miss these savings for America's best meat delivered to your door. For 1 week only, Good Ranchers is going to offer you guys the chance to save up to $150 when you subscribe to their 100% American meat subscription service. Imagine you can have top quality, 100% American beef, American chicken, American pork, plus wild caught seafood delivered right to your door, all while saving up to $150 during this special Prime Week promotion. Good Ranchers sources all of their meat from local U.S. farms, ensuring that you're getting the best of the best. No antibiotics, no added hormones, just pure, delicious meat that you can trust. With these Prime deals, you're not only getting incredible savings, but you'll also be supporting American farmers and American ranchers. I cannot tell you guys how important that is because we do not want a scenario where they are wiped out. We do not want to be trusting the government to make our food in labs. You will also enjoy the transparency that Good Rancher provides that you will never find at the grocery store. And in the process, you will be supporting American veterans because Good Ranchers donates to paralyzed veterans of America. So if you value local, trustworthy, and high quality food, now is the perfect time for you to join the Good Ranchers family. Head over to goodranchers.com and subscribe to any box to unlock their exclusive Prime Week savings. But hurry, because these Prime deals are only available for this week. Remember, that's goodranchers.com. No code needed at all. Just subscribe to unlock $150 in savings. GoodRanchers.com. American meat delivered. All right, guys, we're back. All right, Alex, give us your answer. Why would they try to assassinate Donald Trump?
All right, well, and I just want to be clear. I got interested in all of this when I was a kid because my mother's brother was a Army Special Operations officer and was in the CIA, high level in Iran-Contra and other operations. And he was involved in other operations in Vietnam that he became a Christian later and repented of. And before he died 10 years ago, he basically told me a lot of this stuff. And then, of course, back in the time of HUMET, before everything was digital, the U.S. had large stand-up armies of clandestine muscle, mainly Army and Marine, supposedly retirees, but that's like a whole secret Army operation. And then I later learned that a lot of my family were actually Army officers, in place. And when you go to their funeral, and there'd be like a special operations colonel get up and talk about we appreciate his 27 years service after he left the Army for the Army, and everybody's like, oh yeah, and then so I grew up with these books all over the house and all this stuff going on, and people coming over to the house and closing the door, and like people in briefcases coming out and stuff. So I was never brought into any of it. I just was seeing it, so I was obviously attracted to it. Does that make sense? So that's why I, just as a layperson, have been reading about this since I was like 8 years old. Okay, because these books and things were just all over the house, manuals, you name it, maps, just data everywhere, just books all over the place. And it was like that at my other family house, and so I was immersed on the edge of the permanent state, of the deep state, of the stuff that was going on, and so that's kind of seeped into me. And I understand people tune into this and they hear me rattling all this off, and it sounds crazy. You can take any little piece of what we said, search it, look it up, and it's even mainstream news. So that's what's so crazy. And like, most of the deep state is not just mind control and assassin teams and stuff. The deep state is 30 years ago. They have these facilities all over the country that he classified it 10 years ago with cows that can grow up humanoid clones in them that they actually harvest organs from. Now you can type in human animal hybrids are gestating on at ranches across the U.S. That was in MIT Quarterly and Wired magazine about 8, 9 years ago. People said Alex Jones is right. It was in the medical literature about the humanoid clones. It's something they don't parade around. So when you talk about the deep state, folks, that's the people think of the deep state as guys coming to kill you. That is seen, and their top scientist said this back in the 60s. Julian Huxley was actually the head of the UN program running this. His brother was Aldous Huxley, and Huxley wrote Brave New World Revisited and said the future is not 1984 guns and black boots and boot on the face. It's turning humans into cyborgs. It's genetically engineering you. It's drugging your food and water until everyone is mind controlled. And he said, so Brave New World that he wrote in 32, which now has come true today, he said is really a execution manual. Now, moving away from that to your most important question, and I appreciate you letting me say that, Candace. I'm just giving folks some other big rabbit holes to go down. They'll be blown away by it and instantly see I'm telling the truth. Most people watch and go, that's not true what I just said about humanoid clones. And they're just going to pull it up. It's going to be MIT magazine, and you'll be reading it. So, I mean, 35 years ago, they had goats that are part spider that create body armor in their milk for the military and their secret programs where it's like, millimeter thick and bullets just bounce off of it. It's like literally Spider-Man. So Google spider goats. So this is why they hate Trump. He's never been read in to all the secret stuff. He's not part of the scientific mad scientist cult. They want deindustrialization. They want a post-industrial world. They want to cut the resources off and use that to subjugate people with a global social credit score. Trump wants hotels and golf courses and casinos and good times, baby. And Trump is happy with how humanity operates and likes his wife and likes his kids and likes his grandkids and is really very smart in ways, but also very old fashioned. His family was very old fashioned. He's just very Americana, very straightforward. And he sees all this destructiveness and is now learning about what's happening. And so now he knows a lot more. I'd say 10,000 times what he knew just 6, 7 years ago. So now he gets the deep state. Now he understands how this stuff's operating. I mean, I would tell Trump 7 years ago, hey, you got to get, or 6 years ago, you got to get Fiona Hill and McMaster out. They both work for Soros. Here's the evidence. And you'd see a headline 2 days later. General Kelly's main job is keeping Trump away from InfoWars. And so they went completely ape, not even so much for what I was saying on air, but what I was giving Roger Stone, and when I was talking to Trump, and I had law firms preparing briefings for him, top law firms, I mean, top ones in the country, and getting him that information in, because you'd say, give me a report on that. So I got Trump quite a few reports, and that's when they flipped out. So, and I'm not talking about myself here. I'm just saying they're scared of this growing process with Trump. He now knows how the deep state operates. He knows how Obama left stay-behind networks through the Defense Authorization Act of 2017 inside the government with billions of dollars of funding to oppose him. That's why they called him a Russian publicly, because they were using that designation as him being a foreign asset to then unleash all these clandestine operations on him and his supporters. And they did it through the Countering Foreign Disinformation Propaganda Act and a bunch of other things nested in the Defense Authorization Act that Obama signed before he left office in early January of 2018. and 17. And so they know that Trump has a whole nother plan to expand all sorts of economic operations around the world, to basically tear down totalitarian walls just through success. And so he will destroy their entire world government system. And you all know Harari came out, the spokesperson for the WEF.
Well, let me push back. Let me push back here. So if I'm trying to debate you on that, I would say, okay, but Alex, why not just let him be president for 4 years and then implement your world war government system, thereafter? How much, how can't you just wait 4 years before you can implement it? How much damage can Trump do if that's your ultimate goal, if you just let him be president for 4 years?
Atlantic
Why
Monthly,
try to kill him?
yeah, well, because they can't, the whole world's turning against him. Xi Jinping broke with Obama 10 years ago and is not working with the globalists like he was. He's a totalitarian and terrible, but he's his own system now. Russia is broken with the globalist. The EU is falling apart. There's a global political awakening and realignment. And they
And
say
that's
in
why they
Atlantic,
want war. That's why they want war.
they need war to prop up their Anglo-American establishment. And for new viewers, I'm not bashing white people. When Putin calls the West the Anglo-Americans, that's the ancient name of the group that's passed on power from William the Conqueror on through the British Empire. The British Empire merging with the U.S. Empire. Winston Churchill called it the Anglo-American Empire in his 3-volume set, History of the English-Speaking People. So Putin addresses them in the ancient tongue. Because I mean, at the real political level, it's like Dune, the houses. They talk about all the old scores, and that's why Putin with Tucker
Tucker.
spoke like an hour about the history of Russia and stuff, because that's what really matters to those people, and they understand how long these wars with the Anglo Americans have been going. So the Anglo American Empire is falling apart, and Macron has said it. The Financial Times has said it. Atlantic Monthly said it. Yuval Harari said it Sunday. He said, I played the clip of my show yesterday. He said, if we don't take out Trump and if he becomes the president, the new world order system is going to collapse and our world government is going to fail. Okay.
So basically, and I actually think I can see your perspective on this. It does feel like they're growing increasingly erratic, and you do see and you feel this awakening happen. Like these topics that you and I are talking about right now, you could not speak about this 6 years ago without just being completely canceled and called a crazy person. And now people are seeing how sinister the government is. And so there does seem to be this desperation, and they realize they don't really have 4 years before the whole world is awakened to what they're doing, and they're desperate. I mean, these people are psychopaths. They will do anything to hold on to power, and that's why I've been saying to my audience, I've been saying this for years, they want war with Russia and Iran. They want war. They're going to figure out how to get to war with Russia and Iran. And the next thing you know, you got the Ukraine thing happening. You've got the Iran yesterday. Oh, they were going to try to sell to us a CNN headline that, oh, the assassination. They figured out that Iran was going to try to assassinate Trump. I'm like, this is a nonsense. This is the deep state. They want war because wars allow them to reset, right? You plunder, it's a good old fashioned reset. You plunder, you take, you get to do whatever you want. You decide who the boss is. That's what happens after wars. And I showed, and got in a lot of trouble for this in the mainstream media, I showed the American audiences what we did to the German speaking civilians post World War II. Like this is about, you can plunder and steal and take and reset.
That's
That
right.
is why they love war. So Alex Jones believes that the government wants to keep us struggling while the elites at the top get to enjoy a prosperous state. Now, whether you believe that or not, what you are dealing with right now is the reality that it is a struggle to keep up with bills, food, gas, even the power bill. Well, if you own a home and you want to change things around for you, you need to call my friends at American Financing. They are saving customers an average of $854 a month by tapping into their home's equity line and wiping out high interest credit card debt. $854 a month is like a $10,000 raise every single year. We all know the credit card interest rates are insane. Most of us are still carrying a balance from month to month. And if you're only paying the minimum on that balance every month, it will take you years to pay that off. There are no upfront fees to get started with American Financing. So please call American Financing today. And if you call today, you may not have to make the next month's mortgage payment. American Financing. Call 800-795-1210. Again, that's 800-795-1210. Or you can visit americanfinancing.net/Owens. Again, that's americanfinancing.net/Owens. Let's get back to the conversation.
Two wrongs don't make a right. And the Nazis were terrible, and you've said that many times.
Right.
But it is true that that Eisenhower and the Allies, because Europe was destroyed and there wasn't a lot of food, people were dying of disease everywhere. He did just pin up men, women, and children in large open air. He put them actually in the work camps and starved about 2 million Germans to death. And that's
That's
come out in
correct.
BBC reports. You've covered it. And all you're saying is America did that to the Native Americans. So Hitler's bad for us to then say, but we've done bad stuff too, and we're capable of evil. That's not endorsing Hitler.
Right. Well,
But again,
they know it's not endorsing him, but they pretend it is because, again, that's a part of the process of the awakening, right?
that's the
So
line.
people were shocked when I showed them that old BBC documentary, Stalin. People don't even know about the Bolshevik Revolution. I mean, we are so polluted. We are so propagandized in the classroom, and we have no concept of history. This was why they did not want that Tucker and Putin interview to take place, because Americans have we're basically like goldfish. We don't have a memory of anything, and they want to keep us like that. They want to keep us
We're
fat
like
and
Dory.
dumb and polluted with drugs so they can tell us what the narrative is. This is why they don't want kids being able to read, because then they will tell us what history is. And in each scenario, we defeated the bad guys. We never were the bad guys. I mean, it's basically a fairy tale. And so all it takes is the injection of one drop of truth. Right. And for me, it was that BBC documentary. And I went, what the heck is going on? How did I not know about this? How did I not know we had done this? And then you start realizing you've never really known your country and who has been running this country. And I've been showing to my audience, they are literal Satanists. Like, we're not saying this in the haha, you're devilish. I mean, literally, these programs, a lot of these, like, I did an episode on NASA, like satanic origins, like literally every time they were establishing
Jack
the
Parsons.
JPL. Yes, Jack Parsons was a literal Aleister Crowley thelemic Satanist. Like, I mean, said that he met the devil, like he had done some chant, they were having sexual rituals. And when you were speaking about this stuff a long time ago, it sounded crazy, Alex. I'm not going to lie. And now I show people this is on Wikipedia. You don't even, this is not on some deep Reddit feed. You can go read about how they established the jet propulsion program via Jack Parsons and what faith he believed in. He believed in Satan. He worshiped the devil. He was having sexual rituals, trying to impregnate a woman via sexual ritual black magic to create a moonchild. Even saying it sounds crazy, but it's just available on Wikipedia. That's a scary reckoning for those of us who have been asleep for a very long time. It's scary
No, I
to
totally agree with you.
recognize that Alex Jones was right. That's a scary thing, by the way. Alex Jones was right is a scary thing to say, you know, because then you go, whoa, who's running America? What's actually happening in this society? These people have power and they've always had power. That's scary.
Absolutely. And just to finish up on the big question you asked, because that really is the big one, we can sit here and debate them all day as there was a stand down. We know the deep state did this. The stand down is at every level, and the ridiculous response of the Secret Service director, who's under the direction of Mayorkas, who's a master Lex Luthor in real life villain. And then they say, oh, it's a slanted roof. We can't put people up there. It's not safe. And then the counter sniper team is on the slanted roof next door that's even more slanted. I mean, this is barely even a slanted roof. It's perfect to be on as the command base. You don't have the police in the command center, which the shooter shot from the roof of. You have them on top of the damn roof. At any presidential event I've ever been to, they're all over the roofs. And when the president's speaking, I've seen them with Stinger missiles on top of the White House, and I've seen them with Stinger missiles in Dallas when I saw Reagan speak in the mid 1980s. So here's the bottom line. We know they did it. They're behind it. They said they wanted to kill him. It's all out there on record. The intelligence agencies have 6 ways for Sunday to get even with you. As Schumer said, we need to get those videos up on X. I'm going to post them in the next hour to Real Alex Jones. I hope you guys share them. And I've got all these CIA guys saying we're going to kill Trump. The CIA is going to kill Trump. And of course, they run the CIA and the Justice Department. So nobody's going to go grab them and take them in for very serious interrogation, because this is the time for serious interrogation. But they control the high ground. They control the government. They control the agency. So that's why they have this incredible arrogance. And Trump has gotten a lot of this knowledge now. He's not as naive as he used to be, and I know he's got people around him now that actually know what's going on. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Okay, let's just say some of my acolytes, people that have been listening to me for decades, are now very close to Trump. And I've been meeting with some of these folks. When I say very close, I mean, if something happens to Trump, this person's the president. That close. And they told me, no, we know decades listening. We understand you got the blueprint. We want to work with you. We want to understand the battle plan, how to defeat them. Well, that's happening. But there's not any need for me to even talk to them on the phone. They're watching. The chiefs of staff are watching. They all get it now. They're like, whoa, this guy isn't crazy. No, folks, I'm not crazy. Okay, I have so much knowledge, it makes my head burn because I can sit here for 10 hours and give you evidence, and you could go look it up. It's all open. Okay, like I tell you, there's animal human clones all over the place. It's declassified. It's public, but it's kept in these industrial reservations, walled off. But the fact of its existence is there, and that's what I'm saying. Is the deep state is so much deeper. So they have to kill Trump now. They have nothing to lose. Their backs are against the wall. Trump is riding a wave of a global political realignment. They're going to try to blow up his airplane. They're going to try to poison him. They're going to try to roll a truck bomb into Mar-a-Lago. So there better be barriers a mile away. And they are going to even set off a low yield 1 megaton, 2 megaton atomic bomb. They might use a neutron bomb, which again, they could detonate a small neutron bomb at 1,000 feet above Mar-a-Lago. And it would kill everyone in a quarter mile, half mile range, even if they're in a bunker. And it would not damage any of the infrastructure. It just sends a high powered wave of radiation through you. And depending on how close you are, you die within minutes to hours. So just it's a big microwave. And so I know the enemy. I guarantee you they're already following Trump around with a neutron bomb or a tactical nuke if they think that he's about to figure something out or make a move against them. They're only gauging right now, can they make a deal with him and then double crossing? Can they back off and then try to infiltrate once he's in, or during the 79 days when he's president elect is when they're going to try to poison him. So
Well, I will
poisoning
say
is
this,
number one.
yeah, it does seem like they're getting sloppy, and what happened, obviously, by the grace of God, Trump survived this, and now everyone's paying attention, everybody's watching, and that's not good for them. I do wanna ask you this question. What would have happened if they had successfully assassinated Trump on that stage? Before you answer that, I do wanna cut to a brief message from our sponsors. All right, you guys, I'm so sorry to interrupt this conversation because me and Alex Jones, we are talking purely, which is why I want to take a brief moment to talk to you about Pure Talk, zero censorship, also a great sponsor of this show. And we're going to let you guys in on a little wireless hack here that will cut your cell phone bill in half every single month. Verizon, AT&T, you've got T-Mobile. They want you to believe that you need unlimited data. And the truth is they're only telling you that because they want to overcharge you. The fact is that most of you are buying way more data than you will ever need. You know that that is a fact. My cell phone company, PureTalk, only charges you for data that you actually want. Listen to this. For just $25 a month, you can get unlimited talk, text, and 5 gigs of data, plus a mobile hotspot. Do you know what you can do with 5 gigs of data? You can browse the internet for 135 hours. You can stream 1,000 songs, or you can watch 10 hours of video. 10 hours of video, you can watch this show for 10 hours. So please stop overpaying for wireless and get 5G coverage with Pure Talk. Go to puretalk.com/Owens. Switching is so easy. There's no contract. There's no activation fee. You can even keep your phone and your phone number. Again, that's puretalk.com/Owens. And you'll save an additional 50% off your first month. Pure Talk. All right, Alex.
Yes.
Let's run the dark scenario here. Trump got assassinated on that stage. What would have happened thereafter?
Well, I've run these scenarios, and just briefly back to what I was saying. Why would the Russians want all these nukes to defeat and take over America? Why would America want that for defense or to take over a country? They can take over America and keep their coup and their power if they kill Trump. So I'm saying they will do anything and then say the Iranians did it. And I said that Saturday. I said they'll roll a truck bomb into Mar-a-Lago, or they'll Stinger missile Trump's plane and then claim that Iran got it. And they're going to start saying Iran's going to kill Trump. The next day, they came out and said Iran's going to kill Trump because it's simple deduction. They want to hit Iran next. And so you just come out and say Iran has killed Trump, and then everybody gets patriotic and we go blow up Iran. That's why I had to get ahead of it.
They're running 9/11 again. They're running the 9/11 strategy again. But American people are too awake to that. No one bit on the Iran bullet,
yes.
so to speak.
Yes.
So
let me tell you,
that's not going to work.
Absolutely. So I just do deduction on all the different scenarios and the combinations of scenarios. So here's the answer to your dark scenario. if by the grace of God, he survived, but if he'd have been killed, and I've wargamed this on my show, so I'm not giving you this my opinion now. I'm wargaming the different scenarios. If they killed Trump at that event, they were then planning to truck bomb the White House and say that Iran did it, or that a Trump supporter did it, or a group affiliated with Russia did it, or they might even do a tactical nuke on the White House. And the hysteria cut the internet off, and then you're hearing announcement Iran's hit us, and then Israel and the United States hit Iran with nuclear weapons. Then the globalists would set off a few more tactical nukes, and then they've already brought in hundreds of thousands of Hamas and Hezbollah operatives into the United States. They
through
would
the
be
border. Yeah,
activated. They would be activated by Iran, so that wouldn't be a false flag. They would then go on top high rises and um, dump mixtures that would create chlorine gas into the buildings. They would then sabotage and blow up dams. They would then attack the major capitals and government buildings and military bases. And so the United States would have been on fire right now. Tactical
wait,
nukes would have already
no,
gone
I do
off.
want to, I want to just interject there because I have been covering. Obviously, the CIA is allowing our borders to be porous, and it's been interesting to see which countries these people are coming from. It's not Mexico anymore; it's Kazakhstan. It's, I mean, China. There's been Chinese men coming over the border. They're aware that this is happening, and I feel very much that they want an attack to happen on American soil. So, in my viewpoint, I mean, there's just no way that they're allowing these people into the country unchecked. It's like they
Exactly.
want an attack to happen so that they
But
can blame it
Candace,
on a foreign
understand.
country.
You're absolutely right. This is all deduction. They kill Trump, they kill Biden, they get rid of both things at the same time. They blame Iran. They then hit Iran in a nuclear war. Iran then activates its sleeper cells. That's just how the dominoes go boop, 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 boop. And that's one scenario. I could go through about 20, but they're already pre-programming the scenarios I predicted. And that doesn't mean they're going to do each scenario. They've got to warm these things up and get them in operational mode. But right now, it's like the Death Star powering up to blow up a planet. They're initiate primary ignition. They're powering it up right now. And so I'm seeing all the signs of this being powered up right now for them to blow his plane out of the air, you name it. And then they're going for broke because they're going to World War III with the Russians. They think they can win a nuclear war. They intend this. These are psychotics. And that's why I'm telling people the worst scenario here, because only admitting this can have enough of a global awakening and enough heat on the globalists that when they pull all of this, no one is going to buy it, as you just said earlier. So that's why information warfare is critical to exposing them. They sent in the Justice Department controlled people 6 weeks ago to my office with no court order and tried to bluff the private security company I've had for like 7, 8 years to close the place. I threatened to call the police. The security company agreed, so this is wrong. They tried the next day to come and do it. They later admitted in court and to my lawyers, the U.S. trustee appointed by the judge didn't do this. He blocked it and fired him. But the U.S. trustee appointed and the CRO appointed said we were ordered by the lawyers and the families, and it's the Justice Department running it, and by the Justice Department to shut you down 6 weeks ago. I'm not that important. Why would the Justice Department get so vigilante that they would come try to close the office without a court order and a judge totally fired them and kicked them off and now is standing up to them? Because I said when that happened, I had Laura Logan on the show. That's the show you'll find that like 6 weeks ago. And I said, this isn't about me. They're getting ready to kill Trump. That's the only reason, because they understand that I have done the research and I will lay out blueprints for any researcher, any government people who haven't focused on this can instantly, any analyst, any mainline historian can do this, but you've got to have a lot of different anthropology understanding. You've got to have military understanding. You've got to have energy and supply chain understanding, historical background understanding. But I've got all of these pieces, and there are a lot of people that are smart as I am or smarter who also have these backgrounds. They've just got to admit this is happening. This is fifth generational warfare for the entire future of the planet. They've already got life extension technologies. They've already got free energy, and they know that Russia and China are about to get them too. And then once Earth gets free energy, which has already been proven, it's over. The wars are over, unlimited expansion. Our biggest problem is going to be deciding whether we want to, quote, merge with machines and pretend we're immortal. And, you'll be a new creature, you'll be a new species, but will you be what we were? This is really childhood's end. we're having to decide the whole future of our destiny. And the globalists don't want a big public debate about that destiny. But Elon Musk just told them at the World Government Forum last year, called World Government Forum. Remember, that didn't exist. Now it's out in the open. He said, your system will fail. You can't have a centralized system. You're the real threat to humanity, not us. And we've got to empower humanity. And we've got to let people have decisions about this. So Musk, and I've interviewed him and talked to him quite a bit, and he's on the same page. And he understands this now and is saying, I'm with you. I don't want to be part of the technocracy, even though he's heavily in it. He's saying people will have the opportunity to do this stuff if they want, but we're not going to make people do it, is the point. And we're sure as hell not going to cut the resources off and cut off the fossil fuels and all the rest of it. So he says that'll kill billions of people, which it will. So, somebody like Musk can listen to me, and he has these pieces, is obviously smarter than I am. And he goes, no, that's true. I told him a month ago with Tucker Carlson, I said, they're going to try to kill you next. You're just as important as Trump. I said, they're going to try to kill Trump. So we're going to play that clip today on my show. I said, they're going to try to kill Trump, and they're going to try to kill Elon Musk, and both of them better up their security and better watch their back. And Elon Musk retweeted and said, I think you're right. I am going to up my security. So I'm just saying, listen, folks, this is real. I'm not being alarmist. I know this sounds like science fiction because you're in the year 2024. And the technology the globalists have suppressed is in 2050. All right? 2050, at least. They're at least 25 years ahead of what you're being shown. And they've decided it's too dangerous. That's another reason they want to depopulate, is they actually have decided AI is too dangerous and that it's going to get out of control. So they want to have a new dark age, basically, where they keep technology sequestered for themselves, but then the general public isn't given any of it. And then, like a reservation, the globalists have bragged about this. Jeff Bezos and others have been honest about it. Earth is going to be like a national park or a nature preserve that'll have some small settlements of humans. So the globalists can come down from their space bases and they can come see us and go be in a village for a month and see the primitive humans and live like that if they want. And then they're going to go back up to their space bases. And they're also going to have some city states, big command bases that are all walled off. So, and you go, well, that's Hunger Games. Well, they're not copying Hunger Games. Hunger Games is a reflection of someone that's done the research, is actually telling you with predictive programming what their plan is. They actually are going
Right.
to build the Hunger Games. That you read the UN World Government plans, you read all the stuff that their futurists are saying. They have agreed on a Hunger Game plan, but it's not like where there's just the districts in America. Well, why are there just districts here? Because they've nuked everybody else and killed everybody. Okay, so I mean, and
I
listen,
actually very much subscribe to the depopulation, and I believe that there is an agenda to depopulate, and you predicted that as well. I'm taking a quick break here to cut to one of our sponsors because then I want to talk to you about vaccination. I do not vax my children, and you were kind of early on to speaking about the harms and the ills of vaccination. Just a quick message from our sponsors. Okay, guys, for years, Alex Jones has been speaking about a depopulation agenda, and there is at least one organization that we can all admit contributes to that agenda, and that is Planned Parenthood. According to a recent report, Planned Parenthood continues to rake in billions despite dwindling clients. The biggest takeaway is that they're generating vast profits, including millions of dollars in our tax-paying funding. And the only solution to that is going to be Preborn. They're a great sponsor of this show. Preborn is you, it's me. We actively have an opportunity to steal their clientele, which are the babies that they work to kill every single day. Preborn operates on a very slim budget. They rescue over 200 babies' lives every single day with zero government funding. And their network of clinics are situated in the darkest corners of the nation. They compete head to head with these abortion giants, and they need our help more than ever. All you have to do is donate just $28. With just $28 given to Preborn, you are offering a free ultrasound to an expectant mother that's caught in a crisis, because the reality is that when she hears that heartbeat for the first time on the monitor, she is inclined to choose life. That precious moment when you hear and you realize, no, this is a true life and a life that I must protect because this is my child. The baby's chance at life doubles with that opportunity if you just give $28 to sponsor a precious baby's life today. Your tax-deductible gift will go directly toward saving that baby's life. All you have to do is dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250 baby. Or if you're a person that prefers the internet, go to preborn.com/Candace. Again, that's preborn.com/Candace. Now back to our conversation. Okay, Alex. So I went down, fortunately, actually, I was vax injured when I was 20, woke me up to vaccines. I realized they're lying about everything. Everyone thinks it began with COVID. And I produce a series to wake people up and let them know that changing diagnostic definitions, what they told you, the belief that everybody was going to die unless you gave them your bodily autonomy. Well, people saw that during COVID. They saw the government lie in real time. They saw people get injured, myocarditis in teenagers, and then they saw the media try to pretend that all this was normal. And so people are awake now to that conversation about vaccines. And so I will ask you, because you spoke about this, I think in 2002, I mean, unbelievably, we're talking about a vaccine depopulation agenda. Can you tell me where you got that information way back when and what you think about that now?
Well, again, Candace, 99% of this is all public information. There was a book on my parents' bookshelf. There were a bunch of books about the population bomb and books by Paul Ehrlich, books by a whole bunch of globalists. And I just grew up seeing these books, and I became a really avid reader by the 5 or 6, started reading adult books by 8, 9, 10. And so I read Paul Ehrlich's books. And in the books, he says we're going to put chemicals in the vaccines that attack the fertility. It won't sterilize 100% of people, so folks won't notice it first, and we'll just increase the amount of toxins in it. He talked about how fluoride was reducing fertility and lowering IQ and causing cancer, how great that was. And then he wrote the eco science plan that was later adopted as the official plan for depopulation with John P. Holdren, who later became the White House science czar for Obama. But he wrote in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, he's still around. And John Stossel just exposed him, and Elon Musk retweeted it, so he got like 100 million views. And in that, he's right there saying in 1978, we're going to put images on TV undermining the family and making all men look dumb and make it look like women are in charge, not to help people, to break down society. And he goes, then we're going to, and so he's just up there, yeah, we're going to put chemicals in there and they're going to sterilize you. And it's not just him, it's Bertrand Russell. I read his books, he says that. Brave New World Revisited, it's nonfiction. Aldous Huxley, 1961, says that. And then you actually go read the UN plans. I mean, it's like replacement migration. It's an official UN world plan through UNESCO and through the Office of Resettlement, and it's an official treaty to flood the West with 680 million people by 2050 here and 550 million in Europe by 2050. I mean, it's an official plan, and then you talk about it, and the ADL says you're a Nazi. Okay, so what I'm telling you is I know all this because I've read their books. I mean, people can watch my film In-Game, Blueprint for Global Enslavement. It's 2.5 hours long. It's free. It had like 100 million views till they took it down off of Google Video and then off YouTube. But there's copies of it here and there. It's at band.video on my website. I posted on X when I first got back on. It got a few million views there. In-Game, Blueprint for Global Enslavement. And I show them saying we're going to have world government and we're going to sterilize you and we're going to do it to you and we're going to spray aluminum dioxide in the air and we're going to control the weather. So it's like you're at Thanksgiving, and over at the big adult table, they're talking about all this adult stuff, and we're like over here at the little kid table eating our macaroni and cheese. But I come over to the adult table. That's actually what I did when I was about 6, 7 years old. I'm like, what are these adults talking about? This is really interesting. And I thought, I'm interested in this. I'm not interested in acting cool or reading comic books. I mean, I still like sports and girls, definitely. But I mean, I was all about how do nuclear reactors work? How do atomic weapons work? How do hydrogen bombs work? How does energy work? How does physics work? Well, what are these agencies? Well, who are these groups? And I read probably 200 books on World War II, and I read Mein Kampf, and I read the writings of Julius Caesar, and the Battle for Gaul, and I read Aristotle and Plato, and I got the sense. I mean, Plato said 2,200 plus years ago in his Republic, he said we need to kill all the dumb people and only have smart people breed. They're crushing the breast of Mother Nature. And then Plato goes along into other Malthusians that he spawned, like Malthus, who was around 300 years ago, and then out of him 180 years ago comes Francis Galton, and Francis Galton's entire worldview of depopulation is adopted by the British Empire as their official policy. Is to develop systems and technologies to control the public. They said discover what makes up the cells, discover how to control people. They said we want you to invent computers, we want you to invent biometrics, We want devices that can scan someone and then tell us who they are and where they went. And so Galton and the top scientists in England said, we're going to envision things called computers and things called biometrics and things called, all of this. And then they, just like the British, what was it, 400 years ago? I'm not getting the exact date, said, we'll pay the equivalent of like $10 billion. I forget what the prize was. It was some huge amount, however many pounds of silver, tons of it. We will pay you, tons of silver if you can invent a clock that is accurate down to a few seconds and that can be stored and operate on a ship. And a year later, they had it. And they said, now if you can make it even smaller, we'll give you the money. And so they just learned with scientists, if they just gave them money, they could invent anything, because that's how powerful humans are. And so now you've just got trillions going into cloning and weapons and free energy. But now the globalists have all these giant underground warehouses of just all this incredibly fabulous stuff. And, I mean, it's beyond, science fiction. And they're like, we're not going to give this to all these people. We're just going to kill them. And so that's what they've decided to do. And if we get a Trump in there and he says he's going to declassify a bunch of this stuff and he's trying to find out about it himself, they're like, we're not going to give the public that. And so that's what this is. Trump wants a
And I
pro-human
do want to say,
renaissance.
so what you're talking about is basically the independent pursuit of knowledge because, and I've recently also been using my platform to speak out against birth control because it's all right there. So the problem is that what's running parallel to what they're trying to do scientifically is what they're doing psychologically. And so they have a permanent class of people sitting 6 hours a day, and they are, by the time they come out of the public school system, they are so deluded and they believe everything that they learned as a token of their education. Birth control is good. I mean, I showed on my show, they were never lying about their intentions with birth control. I mean, they even named it birth control. I mean, this was all about eugenicism. It was all about making sure that people were infertile. They were experimenting on Africans. I used real sources to show them. Every birth control does this,
Oh
by
yeah,
the way. It's not like there's
Francis
one that was
Galton.
good. They never changed the medicine. They knew it was causing cancer, breast cancer. It's right there on the inserts today. And yet the majority of women, if you talk to them, will think that birth control has no side effects simply because they have been so severely propagandized in the classroom that coming to that awakening, they just can't even process it. And now I'm of the age where women are struggling to have babies, struggling to have one. They have to turn to the government. They got to turn to IVF. I mean, it's insane. And you really start to see this futuristic, humanistic agenda that you're speaking about. Like in the future, we will control who is born and who will die. And so to disrupt that narrative, you must read independent sources. You actually it's all, once you know what you're looking for, it's very easy to find it. Like you said, you just Google it, you just Google all of the women that were being forced that they could experiment on with birth control because they were
They
so
now
concerned
admit
about.
they now admit most women in major studies that took the shot, their menstrual cycle never went back to normal. They've been
Right.
fried. My mother, even though she's smart, got a Dalcon shield, and I was the only child she could have. They adopted my sister, and they admitted that Dalcon shield sterilized her and was
Mhm.
designed to do it.
It was
So
designed, these things were designed to sterilize. And that's what I tell women. I'm like, once you look into the history of each of these things, it's shocking. And they just somehow were allowed to get these things approved, obviously, because the FDA is a
my
corrupt
grandmother's doctor told
organization.
her, my grandmother's doctor told her in the mid 50s, she got polio from the vaccine. Her doctor
Well,
told her
yeah.
that. So my grandmother died in a wheelchair. She was in a wheelchair from the time my mother was 5 years old till she died at 92. Great lady, beautiful woman, life wrecked and ruined by a live vaccine that gave her polio. And then my mother is sterilized by the government because she believed him and wanted my dad to finish medical school. So thought, okay, I'll wait to get pregnant. And she was so sad. She never got over not having more children. I love your show, Candace. It's so good to be on. Please come on mine soon. I've got to go do mine in 3 minutes. And I know I'm kind of burnt out and frazzled today. I would love to come back prepared sometime in studio and really knock it out of the park with you. And
I
they've
would love
lied
it.
about you. They've twisted things about you. You've done nothing wrong. You are a powerful, smart, informed, beautiful woman, and they are scared of your strength, and that's why they're attacking you and lying about you. And I love you.
Thank you so much, Alex. We will definitely do this in person in the future, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to Alex Jones for joining today. And there's so many more topics. If anything sounds crazy to you, I'm telling you, do your independent research and you will be shocked to see that it is not so. Everything you've learned is an intentional lie meant to psychologically convince you that the government is your friend. It is not. Alex, thank you so much for all the time.
Candace, thank you. Talk soon.
All right, guys, that's all the time that we have for today. First and foremost, just want to thank you guys for allowing me to be independent, because I promise you, I do not think I would have been able to have that conversation any other way. So if you would like to continue to support this independent pursuit, you guys can head to locals.com and donate to this show. Keep us free. It could be a monthly donor, a one-time donor. And also, of course, you can go to clubcandace.com, get yourself some merch. Because what do we believe here? In radical free speech, we believe that you can take this information, digest it yourself, and decide whether to take it or leave it. We'll see you guys tomorrow.